LSD is doing it. All the usual creeps. They're all doing it. But what did the Federal Reserve Chairman say today? Hat tip, CNBC, cut 11, go.
Yeah, so we're not forecasting or expecting a recession. As I mentioned, incoming data for the United States suggests that the most likely outlook for the United States economy is still moderate growth, a strong labor market, and inflation continuing to move back up. I went through the numbers. I'll say a little more about the labor market. Payroll jobs are coming in at well above the level that new people are entering the labor market, and that means that the labor market is still tightening at the margin. By so many measures, the labor market continues to strengthen. So the consumer's in good shape, and really our main expectation is not at all that there'll be a recession.
Wow. Well, this isn't what we've been hearing for a month, is it? Is it? The media on all platforms, every platform, has been shouting the word recession for a month. Shouting a word, but they won't give Trump any credit. They won't give Trump any credit. They won't give capitalism any credit. Instead, on and on and on about the wage gap. On and on about the rich and the poor. On and on with the Marxist pablum that is regurgitated by the Democrats who want to be the nominee for president. That is regurgitated by the drama queens and the drama kings who call themselves journalists and anchormen and hosts. People in Hollywood urging, pushing, hoping for a recession, even though it would create hardship for tens of millions of people because they want Trump to take a fall. That's how sick they are. But the economy is chugging along, despite the best efforts of the left in the media, in entertainment, and in the Democrat Party. I thought you'd want to know. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Wouldn't it be nice if search engines and social media sites were unbiased platforms that didn't choose a side politically? Keep dreaming. In 2016, the tech elites at Google bragged about donating millions of dollars to Hillary. These big tech companies that restrict the free speech rights of conservatives are the very same corporations we're trusting to handle our personal data online. Now, I don't want them using my web history or video searches against me. That's why I use ExpressVPN every time I go online. When I use ExpressVPN, these tech companies can't see my IP address at all. Plus, ExpressVPN has the added benefit of encrypting 100% of your data to keep you safe from hackers and internet bad guys. Protect your online activity today and find out how you can get 3 months free at expressvpn.com/mark. That's expressvpn.com/mark for 3 months free with a 1-year package. Visit expressvpn.com/mark to learn.
WPG South Jersey traffic.
Still seeing some flooding effects. This traffic report sponsored by Boost Mobile, the switch that gives you more. Still got a couple effects on the roadways because of Hurricane Dorian. Fortunately, no major impacts. However, if you are on the westbound side of 30 Absecon Boulevard, the jug handle to Delilah Road, that's flooded over right now. So you want to avoid taking that exit. And then down to North Wildwood, northbound 147 Wildwood Boulevard, that's closed with flooding between Delaware Avenue and Ocean Drive. Other highways through the area are looking pretty good right now. No major delays that we can see on the AC Expressway. Garden State Parkway also moving along nicely. Switch now and get unlimited data, talk, and text for the whole family on their super reliable, super fast nationwide network. Boost Mobile, the switch that gives you more. I'm Jenny Robinson in the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 South Jersey Traffic Center.
WPG South Jersey weekend weather with Chief Meteorologist Dan Zero.
Dorian Center making its closest pass to South Jersey over the next few hours, so our impacts peaking here as well. Gusts of about 40 plus miles an hour along the coast, some bands of rain, and the surge situation, about a foot or two of extra ocean water causing minor to localized moderate flooding. We're past high tide on the ocean front, but back bays pretty much peaking right now. Things will calm down late tonight, and tomorrow morning showers end. We'll see some sun. It'll be breezy, but otherwise beautiful this weekend. High of 79 tomorrow. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zero on the Town Square, New Jersey Weather Network.
Hello, I'm Friday. Sorry I took so long to get here. I know you've been working hard all week, but now that I'm here, you can finally enjoy a 6-inch tuna sandwich for just $3.99 at Subway restaurants. It's the sub of the day, and it's a different 6-inch sub each day for $3.99. So enjoy your casual wear at work today. Friday has arrived. Subway, make it what you want. At participating restaurants, additional charge for extras, plus applicable tax. No additional discounts or coupons may be applied.
The Starlight Lounge presents an evening with the Progressive Box.
Old moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you two. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Honey, I switched the family to Boost Mobile and we got so much more.
Like what?
Well, we got 4 free LG Stylo 5 phones, 4 lines for just $25 per line per month. I smashed up the car and unlimited gigs.
Wait, did you say you smashed up the car?
Yes, it's completely smashed. But 4 free phones.
Switch to Boost and get 4 lines for just $25 per line per month. 4 free phones with unlimited gigs, all on our super reliable, super fast nationwide network. Boost Mobile, the switch that gives you more. Terms and conditions apply. New customers only. Visit boostmobile.com for details.
Busy this summer hatching a socialist healthcare plan behind closed doors designed to be a major down payment on Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All scheme. Now, Medicare for All would entirely eliminate Medicare for seniors, the healthcare program they earned and rely on. Democrats want to force all Americans into a massive $32 trillion socialized medicine experiment where bureaucrats, not doctors and patients, decide what treatments you can receive. Nancy Pelosi's been pushing drug price controls to set the stage for this government takeover of our healthcare system. Now, the only question is, will Republicans in the Senate stop Pelosi's down payment on Medicare for All, or will they cut a deal that because some Republicans, including some technocrats in the administration, seem to have bought into price controls. Folks, socialism is never the answer. It's a cancer. Get the facts. Go to truehealthcarefacts.com. That's truehealthcarefacts.com.
Be quiet now so he can educate you. Whether you like it or not, Mark Levin is on the radio.
This is South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 FM and 1450 AM. Nancy Pelosi's not happy with the economy. And here is John Bennett at Roll Call. August is quirky. Trump's top economic advisor brushes off disappointing jobs report. A disappointing jobs report? Oh, yes. They only created 130,000 non-farm payroll jobs, less than most Wall Street estimates had expected. Ladies and gentlemen, we're almost at full employment, which means there's only so many people who can fill so many jobs. That's what that means. That's what that means. So you can't have 200, 210,000, 180,000 every single month, month after month after month after month. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Or maybe if we would start slashing some of the massive welfare state and requiring people to work, which of course the Democrats oppose and find racist or whatever. Although it's not just minorities who are on welfare, of course. Maybe that would help. No? No, you're not even allowed to talk about it. You're not even allowed to consider it. Want to hear some more positive news? I know. We're supposed to be CNN and MSNBC and the rest and be pushing, depressing, bleak, negative, day in and day out. I'm going to get to this Alabama and hurricane thing in a minute, too, which the media have, of course, seized upon. This is from the Daily Wire, Hank Barron. A new poll has some astonishing news for those who keep seeing President Trump losing in polls in head-to-head competition with the leading Democratic Party presidential candidates. All three leading Democratic candidates, former Vice President Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, have lower favorability ratings than President Trump. Wow, I didn't see this on CNN or MSNBC. Shep? No. The in-depth, comprehensive poll from The Economist and YouGov, taken between September 1 and 3, showed 43% of respondents with a favorable response to Trump. 29% had a very favorable reaction. An additional 14% had a somewhat favorable response. Among the three leading Democrats, only 40% had a favorable reaction to Biden, with a paltry 17% having a very favorable reaction, and an additional 23% with a somewhat favorable reaction. Warren got a total of 39% of respondents giving her a favorable reaction, 20% of whom had very favorable reaction, and 19% with a somewhat favorable reaction. Sanders got the most favorable reaction of the three top candidates, as he barely edged out Biden with 41%. In other words, Trump has a significantly higher overall favorable poll number than the three leading Democrats. Another piece of evidence with good news from Trump: asked whether their candidate would defeat or lose to Trump in 2020, Biden was 10% underwater, with 32% of voters agreeing he would probably beat Trump, but 42% saying probably lose. Warren fared even worse, 16% underwater. 28% thought she would probably win, and 44% said no. Sanders brought up the rear at 17% underwater, as 29% of voters thought he would probably win, but 46% said, no, we think he'll lose. Oh, by the way, Kamala Harris lagged far behind the top three, a whopping 24% underwater. That is differential with Trump. Voters 45 and older clearly preferred Trump to the Democrats. 46% of those aged 45 to 64 gave him a favorable rating, with 54% of those over 65 felt the same way. Younger voters skewed harder to the left. The fact that older voters skewed toward Trump is significant, considering the poll found that they are paying far more attention to the election than younger voters. Another interesting factoid: despite the fact that all other leading candidates trailed Trump, and there are a plethora of other candidates behind them doing even worse, when asked if they were satisfied with the Democratic candidates running for president, a staggering 85% of Democrats said yes. Wow, what are they drinking? In addition, 63% of Democrats said they were more interested in a candidate who could defeat Trump than one agreed with them on most issues. That's pretty positive, I would say, ladies and gentlemen. I don't mean to be a Pollyanna today. I'm just trying to present you with objective news, the objective truth. No Jim Acosta here. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, tough as hell.
That's why I like Mark Levin. And I'm not sure a lot of people like him. He's tough as hell. But I like him. I love him.
Call in now. 877-381-3811.
You know, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and Bits, they've all but destroyed late night TV. They're not funny. They have a phalanx of comedy writers, and they're predictably left. And besides, Stephen Colbert is an amateur proctologist. Did you know that, Mr. Producer? He is. Stephen Colbert is an amateur proctologist. Just ask him next time you see him. They're all worked up because the president showed a map where Dorian might threaten Alabama. Might threaten Alabama. Now, where might he have gotten an idea like that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it wasn't that long ago where he would have gotten it from CNN. Listen to this. Go.
But there are many states that are under threat right now, Derek.
At least 6, from the Carolinas right through Georgia coastline into Florida, certainly, and then also even into the Gulf of Mexico, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. You need to be on the lookout.
My goodness. I think I heard Alabama there. Don Lemon and their hotshot meteorologist or climatologist or weatherman. This is CNN. So CNN reported that this hurricane could well hit Louisiana, possibly Alabama, and they're mocking the President of the United States. As Tyler O'Neill reports at PJ Media, on Thursday, Twitter lit up with the hashtag #SharpiePresident as people mocked the president for drawing a circle around the path for Hurricane Dorian, showing the hurricane threatening the great state of Alabama. The memes are hilarious, but the hurricane really did threaten Alabama, as Rear Admiral Peter J. Brown said in a letter defending the president. In fact, the Alabama National Guard mobilized for the hurricane days before Trump's infamous Sharpie snafu. Now, that could be that they were watching CNN. Always a mistake. On Wednesday, the president shared the original projections, to which someone added a circle and Sharpie to emphasize the threat to Alabama. Now, the president doesn't claim that Dorian was still headed toward Alabama, only that the original projections suggested it would be. This is again from PJ Media. President told the New York Times he didn't know who added the Sharpie circle to the map. Liberals rushed to mock the president on Twitter, however, sharing memes about President Sharpie. Acosta attacked. Stephen Colbert attacked. Naya Malika Henderson, whatever, she attacked. Yet Trump tweeted maps showing that the hurricane was projected to hit Alabama. Rear Admiral Peter J. Brown, Trump's Homeland Security and Counterterrorism advisor, released a statement explaining the president's position. He said, as the Homeland Security and Counterterrorism advisor, I briefed President Donald J. Trump multiple times concerning the position, forecast, risks, and federal government preparations for and response to Hurricane Dorian, Brown wrote. He noted that Trump's comments on September 1 were based on that morning's Hurricane Dorian briefing, which included the possibility of tropical storm force winds in southeastern Alabama. In fact, he writes, from the evening of Tuesday, August 27, until the morning of September 2, forecasts from the National Hurricane Center showed the possibility of tropical storm force winds hitting parts of Alabama. And yet perhaps the most important piece of evidence came from the Alabama National Guard itself. The state's National Guard started mobilizing for Hurricane Dorian because the storm was projected to hit their state. Hurricane Dorian is projected to reach southern Alabama by the early part of the week. We're watching closely and ready to act. Are you? That's the statement of the Alabama National Guard. They tweeted it out. Now, if the National Guard in Alabama was mobilizing for Hurricane Dorian, Trump was right to say that the original projections suggested Alabama would face the fallout. So this whole phony effort to constantly degrade the president on matters small and big, to constantly smear and mock him in an attempt to humiliate him, is a farce. Is a farce. Meanwhile, you have Joe Biden walking, talking moron, and they find him to be quaint and old-fashioned and just he's a good guy, that Joe Biden, you know. Of course he's not, never was, and never will be. But this whole thing about Trump and the hurricane, you even have some conservatives, some never-Trumpers or former never-Trumpers, whatever they are today, doing the same thing. This is where you can really tell the men from the boys, the women from the girls. You can join in with the mob, or you can say, wait a minute, let me look at this. The president wouldn't just do something to do it. Let's take a look at this. And when you look at it, you see how rational he is and what he did. And how irrational Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and Bits are. Again, Stephen Colbert, an amateur proctologist. Jimmy Kimmel and Bits, a low IQ, failed comedian. Somehow gets a big show. And these guys have destroyed, as I said, late night TV, where we used to have really good people like Johnny Carson. And others. But not these lightweights. Real lightweights, entertainment is a joke these days. I'll give you another example. More on CNN. CNN has a bad day every day. Have you noticed that? CNN is a bad day every day. Again from the Daily Wire. This is a great website. The New Wall Street Journal report disputes CNN's claim that the recent Odessa, Texas assailant, that is a mass murderer, purchased his weapon in a private sale, claiming that law enforcement officials have indicated the weapon was sold by an illegal manufacturer. So what's happening here, including with the lieutenant governor of Texas, who's dancing around now, if we had closed the gun show loophole, that is, private sales or gifts, father to son, cousin to cousin, those sorts of things, this would never happen. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So the lieutenant governor of Texas is obviously swayed by CNN and the left. Law enforcement officials said they've identified a person of interest that they suspected of illegally manufacturing and selling the rifle used in Saturday's mass shooting in West Texas. You understand? Illegally manufacturing. That's the beginning and the end of it. The Wall Street Journal reported this. I guess CNN can't read. While private gun sales are legal under federal law, it is a crime to be in the business of manufacturing or selling guns without a license. Law enforcement officials suspect the man was buying various gun parts to build his own guns and then reselling them. CNN's Josh Campbell, former assistant to disgraced former FBI Director James Comey, reported that the assailant had purchased the weapon in a private sale. CNN's Jake Tapper, who used to be the mouthpiece for handgun controlling, tweeted the claim, writing, a law enforcement official tells CNN's Josh Campbell that the Odessa, Texas mass murderer purchased his weapon in a private sale, which does not require a background check. The Wall Street Journal noted that the 36-year-old assailant, quote, was prohibited under federal law from owning a firearm because a court had previously found him mentally unfit. Law enforcement officials previously said he had tried to buy a gun in January 2014, but failed because a nationwide criminal background check system flagged the mental health determination by a local court and prevented the purchase, according to the officials. Of course, the CNN coverage was highly misleading, deserving at least a clarification, said David Harsanyi. This guy's really sharp, Federalist senior editor. And honestly, I'm not sure why this Wall Street Journal piece keeps harping on the words private sale when it was an illegal sale from every angle. Dana Loesch commented, the good Dana. Illegal private sale, criminal act, not loophole. Washington Free Beacon, Second Amendment-centric reporter Stephen Gadowski noted some of the gray areas in the law that apply to this case, but clarified that what the guy in the Wall Street Journal story is accused of doing is blatantly illegal. It was an illegal sale. An illegal manufacture, an illegally manufactured gun. CNN is well known for sometimes disseminating deeply politicized information about firearms, writes Ryan, including its hosting pro-gun control events and running emotionally manipulative segments. So they run pro-gun control events, climate change crisis events, LGBTQ events. What kind of a news operation is this? The point is, it's not. It's not. Ready for one more? Oh, I'm armed and deadly today. No, I mean with facts and information. Edie Scary over there at the Washington Examiner. Yes, I pull these together like a good prosecutor. We have a full brief. CNN's Brian Kareem should be an embarrassment to the entire White House press corps. Now, so should the Obama federal district judge in Washington, D.C., who ruled that this thug who was threatening physical violence at a White House press event has a First Amendment right to be at the White House press events, and his 30-day suspension is unconstitutional. These judges are liars. They're crackpots. They're social activists. This has nothing to do with the First Amendment or freedom of the press. You don't get to yell fire in a crowded theater said one Supreme Court justice 120 years ago. And you don't get to threaten people with physical violence in the Rose Garden either, Mr. Judge. Brian Kareem recently had his White House press pass suspended for a month after he ranted and raved like a lunatic in the Rose Garden, suggesting a fight with a former administration official, our buddy Sebastian Gorka. This week, a judge forced the White House to reinstate Kareem's press credentials. This is an outrageous violation of separation of powers. This has nothing to do with the First Amendment. You could almost feel the world stop spinning at the very moment. Back in July, Kareem got into a cringe-inducing shouting match with former White House aide Sebastian Gorka in the middle of an official event. The spectacle should have embarrassed not just CNN, where Kareem is a contributor, but every other reporter in the White House press pool. And it goes on. How the hell is a president supposed to have some level of decorum when the press is out of control? Jim Acosta and this clown. And how the hell can a federal judge reach into the White House and on the White House lawn and tell the president he must do this sort of thing? And here's the irony. You want to know the irony, Mr. Producer? How many cameras are in the federal courthouse of that federal district judge that ruled that this violated the First Amendment, freedom of the press? Not one. You see, ladies and gentlemen, our courtrooms, federal courthouses, don't allow photographs, videos, or television cameras. I happen to think that's a good idea, but how does Mr. Judge Obama appointee explain himself? That is another branch of government. Don't the people have a right to know? Don't the people have a right to watch their federal judges, lifetime appointees? Apparently not. What if Mr. Kareem walked into that courthouse and said, I have a constitutional First Amendment freedom of the press right, and damn it, I've got my TV camera here. And then adds, you jerk judge. What would the judge say then? He's allowed to be here? What about the decorum? Doesn't matter. Freedom of the press, you know. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin. He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Do you realize there's thousands of people missing on the Bahamas Islands? Thousands of people missing. A Category 5. That means sustained winds of 185 miles an hour. Sustained. With gusts of up to 210 to 220 miles an hour. Massive waves have to be 20, 25 feet high. Very little can withstand that. Very little can withstand that. And if you're in the way of that, I don't care what you've built. It's hard to survive, and these horrific stories are now coming out of the Bahamas about what took place there. This is a very slow-moving hurricane, as you've heard over and over again, and it's sat there. And those people are suffering. And I have to say, the Bahamas have a lot in common with the United States. Beautiful people there. Very, very welcoming people. I've been to the Bahamas many times over the decades. It's very close to the East Coast. People from Florida take boats there all the time. And just horrific. So, I don't know, Mr. Producer, is there any particular way that we can provide aid? We should dig into this and look. Not for any of these phony front operations, you know what I mean. Some legitimate. We'll look into this. as I'm on the air. I may have to wait till Monday, unfortunately, because I just thought about it. But watching these pictures and this video, it's enough to turn your stomach. Absolutely blown away, these people. And really nothing they could do. There was nowhere for them to go. These are islands. Where are they going to go? And just put yourself in their shoes. They've got nothing. Family members missing, little kids. Some entire families. Just imagine the fear in that. Anyway, we'll look into this in the next hour or two and see what we can find, but I'm not going to post anything or promote anything that I'm not 100% certain about. Now, what can I tell you? Andrea Mitchell's at MSNBC. I've seen her at various events. I don't know her, other than to meet her. She's gotten worse and worse over the decades, as I've told you before. I remember when she was a cub reporter in Philadelphia and the way she would chase after Frank Rizzo, and that got her national attention. Frank Rizzo having been the police chief and then mayor of Philadelphia. And she was quite the drama queen then, and she's quite the drama queen now. I don't find her to be particularly smart or substantive or anything of that sort. Her husband, yes, but not her. So she's on MSNBC yesterday with General Mattis. Now, I have to be honest with you. We have not reached out to General Mattis to come on any of my platforms. Why? I don't mind somebody resigning from an administration. I don't much like the way he did it. And yet they try and goad him into attacking the president, and he won't do it. He has been very critical of Obama and Biden and how we withdrew from Iraq. And, you know, they fired him. They removed him. That is Mattis. So let's listen to this. Andrea Mitchell on MSNBC yesterday trying to get Mattis to attack Trump. And let me ask you this. Is this the role of a reporter, too? The answer is no, of course. Cut one, go.
You stood out from that whole group of people who were all praising the great leader. What was going through your mind that day? How did you feel?
The great leader, of course, being Trump. That's her way of comparing him to a megalomaniac, genocidal killer, Un in North Korea, who they call the great leader. So now she uses that name to define Trump. But it's Andrea Mitchell. What do you want? Go ahead.
How did you feel when your cabinet ally and colleague, Rex Tillerson, was fired on Twitter?
Well, I won't get into the political assessments.
Not political,
however,
just your human reaction.
Washington, D.C., business as usual.
Well, being fired on Twitter is not business as usual for a Secretary of State, but moving on to leadership and reading.
Listen to her. It's just so appalling what's happened to the press in this country. And this is actually rewarded. You know, people are celebrated for making comments like this. Go ahead.
Our appendix devoted to your reading list, and you write compellingly about when you were at the War College, and you really absorbed the importance of reading. You write that reading doesn't give you all the answers, but it lights what is often a dark path ahead. Your personal library has thousands, maybe 7,000 books in it. What does it say about a chief executive who does not read? I'm just speaking hypothetically.
You hear this? What does it say about a chief executive? What did Obama read? Really quite amazing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to frustrate you here. I'm not going to comment.
Asking him. I'm asking you about the importance of reading for a CEO, for a chief executive, for a commander.
You know, sergeants get a reading list, majors get a reading list when they make major. Generals, when you make general, you're handed a new list of books you've got to go read. You're not considered.
Maybe someone should give one to a commander-in-chief, and starting with call sign chaos. But I'll move on and ask you about whether you slow-walked some of the decisions.
No.
Good Lord. She's using the opportunity of interviewing Mattis to trash Trump. We have a hurricane, they trash Trump. We have a mass killing, they trash Trump. It's really quite incredible. I'm hoping that there's enough Americans out there, red-blooded Americans out there who watch this day in and day out, watch these ridiculous town hall events on CNN, listen to Andrea Mitchell on MSNBC, watch this pathetic Joe Scarborough. Unfortunately, there's not enough who do, but maybe word of mouth, maybe as I play it, who say, you know what? We've had enough of these people. I've told this story before. My mother and father voted for Barry Goldwater in 1964. Obviously, they were Jewish. I'm Jewish. And fairly young. They lived in a basement apartment in Philadelphia. They didn't have a lot of money. And of course, they wouldn't be expected, would they, to vote for Barry Goldwater? And I asked my dad, why did you vote for Barry Goldwater? He wasn't politically active, but he paid attention. He said, because I knew all that BS, but he didn't say BS, he used the words, the BS that the Democrats and the media were saying about Goldwater couldn't be true. So I voted for him. I hope there's enough Americans out there who listen to this day in and day out and say, you know what? What's being done here is unbelievable. And we now have Jerry Nadler coming back to Washington, D.C., Elijah Cummings coming back to Washington, D.C., to conduct more Soviet-style investigations about jokes the president made, and pardoning people at DHS if they put the wall up, about the president's businesses, about the vice president's decision to stay in a Trump facility, about the Doral as a possible location for the next G7. It just never ends. And I'm hoping, and I have to believe, that there's enough Americans who think and feel like Americans do. Who think and feel like Americans do. That this is unacceptable to try and handicap and burden a president this way? To try and destroy a presidency this way? I mean, don't most of you agree with 80, 90% of what the president's doing? Some of you agree with everything the president's doing. It's hard to agree with everything anybody's doing, but that's significant percentage of what he's doing. So they're attacking him because they're attacking his agenda and they're attacking his supporters, you. They hate you. They despise you. CNN has completely given up on you. They have no expectation that you're going to watch their network, and they don't care. MSNBC, exactly the same thing. New York Times and Washington Post know that their readership is the kook base of the Democrat Party, and this is more and more the case. Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and Bits, they have decided, same thing. They're only going to appeal to the crackpot, knucklehead base of the Democrat Party and write off all the rest. And they're perfectly fine with that. That's what's taking place. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Oakland Raiders wide receiver Antonio Brown threatened violence against his team's general manager, and the team is doing nothing about it. On Wednesday, Brown had a heated exchange with Raiders GM Mike Mayock, where he unleashed a barrage of foul language and went as far as threatening to punch Mayock in the face. The exchange came because Mayock was unhappy that Brown had posted a part of a letter the GM sent him on social media. The letter had to do with the $54,000 the team fined him for a pair of unexcused absences from practice during training camp. Although the Raiders asked Brown to not come to practice on Thursday and it appeared as though they could void the wide receiver's contract, they changed their attitude. After Brown apologized on Friday, the team decided they were not going to discipline him at all. As the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport tweeted, instead, Brown will be playing in the team's opener this Monday. Letting Brown's inexcusable action slide, the Raiders are making a big mistake. This is written from the Washington Examiner, setting an awful precedent. Well, some were also irked that Brown called Mayock a cracker in the spat although the term does not have nearly the same weight as the N-word does when used against black Americans. Even so, paired with a violent threat and the other bad language you use, it's certainly not a great look. I don't understand these guys. They're paid a damn fortune. And they conduct themselves this way. When you sign a contract, when you put your name on a dotted line, and another person puts a name on a dotted line, and you make representations to each other on terms and conditions, and you agree to apply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of your life to a project, to a team, to whatever it is, you have every expectation, and should, that the other party is going to conduct themselves with honor and dignity. That they're not going to constantly pull your change or change the business model or threaten you or whatever it is. And you have every right to stand up and say enough is enough. And in this case, that's what the Oakland Raiders should be doing. And I've signed enough contracts in my life to know when people are conducting themselves honorably and when people are trying to screw you. And in this case, the Oakland Raiders folded. But as a general matter, for all you folks out there, when you sign a contract and you apply what limited time you have in your career and in your life to a project, to a company, to an individual, whatever they pay you, and those terms and conditions are violated, that's an abomination. That's dishonorable. It's immoral. The Oakland Raiders allowed it to take place. You should not. Just a life's lesson. You should not. Stand up for yourselves. Let's go to Chuck, San Antonio, Texas. Sirius Satellite, where you once had a Mayor Castro, as I recall.
Good, Mark. How are you?
All right. How are you, sir?
Hanging in there. I just want to make a pretty quick comment in regards to what you were talking about, touch earlier there. If there's any people out there that are not going to be listening to all this garbage that's going on with the Democratic Party, but in a nutshell, myself, my son and daughter and their spouses back in '08 pretty much got fooled by Barack Obama. He turned out to be a snake oil salesman.
So you're Democrats?
I was pretty much leaning that way, yes, sir. But I like what he had to say. Unfortunately, I'm kind of embarrassed now.
Mm-hmm.
As time went on, though, I could see that things weren't going the way they were supposed to. Then going by what he was saying, nothing was happening. You know, the red line and the sand, all that garbage between Clinton and Kerry, those two hacks. Yeah. And as it came to 2016, I really wasn't sure where I stood on all that. You know, I figured I'd give Donald Trump a try, and I did, and I'm very happy that we all did. And needless to say, we've gone this route. We're going to stay this route, but
it's going to be a hell of a fight, Chuck.
A lot more people, sir.
There's going to be a hell of a fight here.
I know there is, but I think you sound a lot of people short. Not yourself, but I mean, just I think the overall situation. Everybody's selling everybody short. We're a lot smarter out here than a lot of people.
I know, but, you know, it's like a military operation. Politics is really no different in the end, without the violence, typically. And that is, you must be organized, you must be strategic, and you must get out your troops. You can't just say people are smarter and people are that. You got to get out your troops. You got to get out family members and friends and coworkers, because God knows the other side is doing everything humanly possible to do that, plus cheat.
I can't just believe what they've been saying for the last 5-6 years or 4 years plus on Trump. I just don't believe it. They never even gave this guy a chance.
No. They were after him the moment he announced. And look, I've gotten to know him. He's really smart. He's charismatic. He's got a great sense of humor. He's 10 steps ahead of most people. And the media treat him like he's mentally ill, he's unhinged, he's got a dictatorship complex. They're projecting onto him their own mental frailties.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty amazing how they really do treat him. But one last thing I would like to get out there, it's in regards to this Julian Castro. Since I'm a local in San Antonio, this hack, I don't know if it's known in the media, but back in 2018, we had a killing here in San Antonio. A young boy was killed by an illegal felon, and they just stuck it in on the tail end of a newscast here that unfortunately he wasn't able to get a hold of the parents.
All right, my friend, unfortunately I have to go. That music means hard break at the bottom of the hour. I appreciate your input. I'll be right back. All right, let's take a few more calls. Gerald, Los Angeles, California, Sirius Satellite, go. You're on, sir, go. I guess Gerald's not there. Brian, Detroit, Michigan, XM Satellite, go.
Hey, Mark. Hey, thanks a lot for pushing Hillsdale College. We're proud of it, and I'm 60. I've pushed your word out to some young guys I was helping out, and they have availed themselves to Hillsdale, and it's opened their minds, so your word does work.
I'll tell you that they are fantastic how they reach out to the American people far beyond their campus.
Hey, and your word putting it out works because I've pushed it out, and the young
Thank
guys
you.
are starting to look at it, and it helps them. And it helps them to open up their mind and get back to the Constitution, and that's what endeared to me. But the biggest thing is gets left behind in the whole shuffle of everything is I truly believe when I mention these names, of course, you know them well, but you can start out with Mueller, but certainly Timothy Geithner, Sean Hendry at CrowdStrike, who used to work for Mueller, last big promotion. And what I'm saying is Rosenstein and Perkins Coie with Mark Elias, the whole Democratic Party. It's not.
Well, you really know this. Very good.
I do. I've been watching. I did, not to brag on myself, but I held a top secret clearance in the Navy, compartmentalized. You know what I'm talking about. So I do know a little bit about a little things. This is the protection of all of that, Mark, and I think we know that. Some should turn to Schweitzer's book, but I could see it all unfolding right where it was at, and it even goes back to Obama. As far as he specifically did not have an inspector general at the State Department the first time in our history.
And by the way, he would fire inspectors general who he disagreed with. A lot of these departments didn't have inspector generals.
There you go. But at the State Department with Hillary, my God, you got to be kidding! Not
You're right on.
Inspector General. It needs to be pushed out, and this is the protection of that. And I would have to say, in the near, what's going on right now is they're trying to protect this Patriot Act. I would have to say, and that's what they're trying to do.
Well, you know what? I've made the point. I think about a year or so ago that since the FISA court was such a failure, it was given birth in the late 70s. It needs to be abolished if it can't be reformed, because we can't have a secret court with lifetime judges, most of whom we don't know, who are appointed to these positions, where the government makes a case and judges fail to read the files or fail to take a serious look at these cases. They just kind of rubber stamp them. And I say this because nobody's been held in contempt. There hasn't even been an evidentiary hearing. I've been calling for this for years now. And these judges are not holding up the rule of law. So if we can't do it, they need to go.
There you go, Mark. Hey, keep pushing it. See, we're near the same group, but you got 20-year-olds starting to pay more attention. It's because of you, man.
Well, you're very, very kind. God bless you, buddy. God bless you. Let's continue. David, Cashers, North Carolina, XM Satellite. Go right ahead, please.
Hey, brother, how are you doing tonight? I pray
I'm all right.
Well with you.
Thank you. How are you?
Oh, if I was any better, there'd be two of me talking to you. Listen, I just called in to give you a good report.
Go for it.
Yes, sir. We got a place up here in western North Carolina, up in the mountains area, Silva, North Carolina, and Cashers, North Carolina, where I live, and up here in Highlands, North Carolina.
Yeah.
These people up in here used to be, sold out Democrat. Sold out. You start talking about anything about a Republican, and you may as well just go find a shed to hide in.
Now, are these rural areas, I guess?
Rural areas, and there's some towns here, but they're real down home America. You know, people have patriotism here. And the switch that has been made here is incredible toward Trump. You can't hardly talk to anybody that is not for Trump anymore. They're all for Trump. And the ones that you should run into that may not be for Trump, you wouldn't want to talk to them anyway because they're walking around with old grumpy pants on.
Well, at least they have pants on. That helps.
Generally unsociable. So I just wanted to let you know that as far as western North Carolina and the mountains up here and the thousands and millions of people that live throughout these mountains and going on up into the Appalachians, things are looking good for Trump. And we're just going to continue to push the ball.
Thank you, my friend. Good to hear from you, David. Joe Scarborough, a.k.a. the banjo player kid, the inbred from Deliverance, and his lovely wife, of course, they host this morning show. You may not know this because nobody else does, on MSLSD. And he was really into this Hurricane Donald Trump Alabama thing. Cut 5, go.
Donald Trump, bizarrely enough, was focused on a Sharpie doodle that he had done several days before. And there are, of course, the whole world is watching. There are consequences in Russia and China and Saudi Arabia and across the world. Leader seems...
I'd rather have my fingernails pulled out than watch this guy. Really, I don't watch him. Here's the audio. Talk about a narcissist, an egomaniac. People all over the world, and he's so dramatic. The Sharpie doodle. Consequences, People all over the world, they watch this man, Go ahead.
This detached and this unstable emotionally.
Yes, he's detached and emotionally unstable. You know what, you SOB? Every damn day you should in that studio. Playing to your left-wing crowd. For money. For money. You used to support Trump. You supported him all through the Republican primary. Used to meet with him privately. You and your sidekick, Mrs. Ed McMahon. Now look at you. You're a disgrace. You're disgusting. People who see you at airports or public events, they can't stand you, can they? Except the libs run up to you. Joe, you're so good. Thank you so much. Thank you. But trust me, Joe, the vast majority of people you meet and see can't stand you. Because you're dishonorable. You're immoral. You're unethical. In so many ways, Joe. Boy, if somebody really did, Joe Scarborough, this is your life, that would ruin you, wouldn't it, Joe? Yeah, I think it would. Because you're emotionally unstable and you're detached. You're mentally unhinged. Why am I using these phrases? Because you use them about the president. If I were like you, Joe, and thank God I'm nothing like you, I'd call you neo-Nazi-like and Hitlerian, like you've called our president. But I'm nothing like you, Joe, so I won't do that. You really are a disgrace. But that's why you're on MSLSD with the great Andrea Mitchell. Every reprobate that they can find, they give a show to. Or they call journalist. Al Sharpton. You proud of Al Sharpton, Joe? You are. Very proud. Proud to be on that network, Joe? With Chris Matthews? I'll have another drink, Chris. Or Rachel Maddow, conspiracy nut? Or Chris Hayes, moron extraordinaire? Right down the list. Right down the list of the reprobates. And of course you, Joe. You. The things you say are so putrid and vile. You're an embarrassment. But you can't control yourself. Let us go to Dan, Minneapolis, Minnesota, XM Satellite. Go!
Thank you, Mark.
You bet.
I firmly believe that the Democratic presidential candidates would have to, by virtue of our dear president, hammering every day, should be debate or have a discussion with the men like you, maybe Larry Elder and a few others, and they would be shamed into doing it if they wouldn't do it, because we all know they're afraid to sit in front of you and answer intelligent questions.
Listen, I can't get a single one of them on any of my shows. I can't get any of them.
Our president has the bully pulpit, and he can hammer them every day on Twitter
and do what?
Well, he would say you're afraid, you're incompetent, you can't defend your positions. You will not appear before half of the country who voted for me because you know you can't answer the questions. And you're incompetent, and you're not only that, you're not intelligent.
He certainly has appeared on more of their platforms than they have appeared on ours. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And this guy de Blasio, he has his shtick down. He talks over the hosts. I've now watched it. He talks over them. He lies about his record in New York. You know what I would say to de Blasio, or a.k.a. DeCamio, which is a much better name for the fool? I would ask him a question that nobody seems to want to ask him. Tell me, Mayor DeCamio, why do the cops hate your guts? Why do the cops hate your guts?
I think that our president has an unprecedented amount of power from Twitter and from getting in front of the American people and saying these people will not answer the hard questions and hammer them. They would have to respond, because even our local Looney Tune leftist media here in Minneapolis, they report what our president says on Twitter.
All right, my friend. You must be very proud of Ilhan Omar. Where's her brother these days? You know, the one that she allegedly married? Is anybody getting to the bottom of that?
They're trying. A Republican.
How come Joe Scarborough has no interest in that? Can you tell me, sir?
Well, because he's a phony.
Mm-hmm. All right, my friend. Thank you for your call. I shall return.
Mark Levin.
Roberta, Independence, Missouri, Sirius Satellite, go.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I've got notes. I'm going to try to keep this brief. Something I was following up on, I called last night, and I was following up on your comments and your things with Castro and more climate education in school. Quickly, I have been a teacher for the past 19 years. I moved from the Silicon Valley, California, just about 8 weeks ago to Independence, Missouri. I'd like to say I escaped from there. This whole thing with more climate education in school, I cannot tell you how much I disagree with it. You were talking last night, and you mentioned and you played the things about carbon dioxide. I was teaching 5th grade for the past 9 years. Photosynthesis, carbon dioxide. You nailed it on the head when you said any 5th grader knows the difference. It's not a poisonous gas. It's essential to the plant life cycle. I love that you call people out. 2 years ago, I had kind of got in contact with a friend who lives in the Kansas City area, and he asked me once, have you heard of Mark Levin? And I said, no, I hadn't. Told me about Breitbart. I listened to you. I immediately started getting your books. I'm a history major. My emphasis is industrialization to the Cold War.
Wow.
And to hear the things that I'm hearing, when you talk, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I agree. How can we even think? How are we not teaching this? And we're not teaching this, Mr. Levin, in school.
Nope.
We're not. Right now, I taught at a private school, and I have to say I was a bit sheltered. I heard different things. I'm currently subbing, which is a whole different thing, in the public schools. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to talk bad about the public schools and things, But
I only have a few seconds. Yep.
I'm so sorry. You know, I just completely support you. I bought your father's book, Police.
Well, listen to me. You're very, very kind. Do not hang up. I want to send you a signed copy of Unfreedom of the Press. You're very, very kind. If you already have a copy, give it to somebody else. I want to send you a signed copy. Thank you for your wonderful call, Roberta. I much appreciate it. Moses, my man Moses, North Bergen County, New Jersey, the great WABC. How are you, brother?
I am doing outstanding, Mark. How about yourself?
Very well, thank you. And everybody, I've met Moses. This is one strong, tough young man. Go right ahead.
That's right. And don't forget my dog.
Your doggy, too.
Yeah, so Mark, the one thing, just like I spoke to you briefly at that event over there by Richard Park, which is awesome, the one thing I feel, just looking at this from the outside, is the fact that there are no ideas that are being exchanged. There are no positions being defended, and there's no debate that's taking place. So what needs to happen is that the president, I feel he has a perfect opportunity. And we can talk about climate. We can talk about crime. We can talk about immigration. You can pick your topic. On a daily basis, these ideas are being attacked and the rights being attacked. That White House press briefing room, can you imagine how powerful it will be if we had the members of ICE, the union leadership, or the immigration?
You're saying get people in there and engage on the substance. Very good point, Moses. We'll be right back.
RCA Victor Television. One more day to Labor Day weekend, the traditional occasion for tasty outdoor barbecues or picnics.
the obstacles and with all the enemies who are between me and...
This is Times Square, 42nd Street.
Transfer is available. 1-7-8.
is a